Hi. So I've decided to start vlogging again. It's the first day of 2025. Last night, Matt and I went to a New Year's Eve party at Uptown Theater in Kansas City, which was very, very fun. They had a drag show. They had it was an open bar, but you paid for tickets. So it was I think we paid $70 each, which is actually not that bad. And I do think we got our money's worth. It was very fun. I had a great time. Cause I was thinking part of it is the $20 admission fee to see the performers and the DJs and stuff, a $20 entry fee, and then $50 for drinks. And that's 5 drinks. And I think I probably had 5 drinks. It was great. It was really fun. But I've had kind of a slow start to the day today because I was up late. But I wanted to do this vlog. So it's January 1st. I'm still trying to finish a couple of things that I started in December. So I'm trying to use today to do that. So I have, I don't know what it's even called, A Botanist's Guide to Poison and Parties. Maybe I'll hopefully have the cover here. I've been reading this for a while. It's a cozy mystery. I'm not loving it. The setting is all wrong. So it's supposed to be set in the 1920s. And I keep forgetting that. It sounds almost modern day, but then I'm but why would they care if this woman, I don't know. I don't love that part of it. There's a love interest, which I am interested in. I don't think anything's really gonna happen, but I do like her interactions with him. I like the character. I just think the setting is weird and wrong and not being pursued correctly. So it's probably gonna end up being a 3-star, but it's about this woman who is a research assistant to a professor at a college in London. And she is the only woman in her department. She's in the botany department. She might be the only woman working at the college. I'm really not sure. Her dad was a professor too. And they go to this party, and a woman who's the wife of someone who works at I don't know who he is, who works at the university, is murdered. She's poisoned. And the police have now arrested the mentor of this, our main character. Her name's Saffron, which I also don't like, but it's fine. Saffron's mentor, Dr. Maxwell, has been arrested for the crime. They think he did it, and she's trying to prove his innocence. And again, it's fine. It's nothing super exciting, but I would like to finish it since I'm interested enough to keep reading it, if that makes sense. I do like parts of it. I just ultimately don't think I'm gonna love the book. Hope that makes sense. Oh, anyways, I'm also listening to a Dolly Alderton book called Good Material, and it's about a comedian who was in a long-term relationship and his girlfriend broke up with him, and now he's trying to sort his life out, basically. I'm not liking this one that much either. I've considered DNFing it. I loved the Dolly Alderton book that I read in 2024, which was her first book, and I think it's a memoir, and it has a Hulu thing that I want to watch. What is it called? I'm not gonna remember, but if I can remember, I'll put a picture here. Everything I Know About Love. That's what it's called. I loved that book. This one, I don't really love. It's just the guy is kind of annoying and nothing's really happening, which is fine, but I'm waiting to care, and I haven't cared yet. So we'll see how that goes. I am over halfway through and I'm listening to it. So if I can finish that today, then I'll finish that today. And then the plan is to start my actual TBR tomorrow. And if you haven't seen my TBR video, it's a monstrosity. It's extremely long. I posted it on January 2nd, which is tomorrow actually as I'm filming this, but it's ready to go. It's set to upload. I don't think I'll be getting to everything on that list, but I would like to get to hopefully a lot of things. I think I'm gonna start off, whoa, shoot. I'm also in the middle of 6 of Crows, which is my physical book right now, which I would like to finish before I start my reread of the CJ Tudor book. Let me grab it. I bought it, so this is a spoiler for a book haul that I'm assuming I will do at some point. The Other People. I need to take the sticker off, but I want to read this because I wanted to reread it. This will be the physical thing that I pick up after I finish 6 of Crows, which I'm enjoying. I bought it because I wasn't going to finish it in time, and my library hold is extremely long. Also, my library doesn't have any audiobooks for any Leigh Bardugo books. Why is that? Did she do an Audible only thing or something? I don't know. It drives me nuts. But that's the plan for today. I'm going to finish the things that I have held over from December for the most part. I also have A Gentleman in Moscow, but I had to give my hold back, so it's on hold. I barely started it, which is why I didn't care that much about it yet. So that's going to stay until I get my hold in. But yeah, we'll just see where we go. I'm going to do this vlog. I will probably end it on Saturday, maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, just depending on how long I want this to be. If I want to do Monday through Friday vlogs or Sunday through Saturday vlog. Well, no, I'll probably do Monday through Friday, or Monday through Sunday. So I'll end this on Sunday. But it is a Wednesday today, and I'm not at work because it's New Year's Day, and I love that for me. Anyways, at some point I'm gonna have to take down all the Christmas decor, but I want to show it to you really quick. Look, isn't it lovely? We decorated early for Christmas this year so we can enjoy it. And I'm so glad we did, but it is time for it to come down probably. That's probably what we should have done today, but maybe we'll do it this weekend. We'll see. That's it. I will let you know when I have updates as I finish things, and talk to you soon. Hello. Model's with me. It has been a few hours, and I have finished Good Material by Dolly Alderton. I gave it 3 stars. I contemplated rounding up to 4 because it could be like a 3.5, but I was so bored for so much of it, and I really liked the way it ended. At the end, you sort of get, I think I've explained what it's about, but it's about this guy, Andy, who was in a relationship with Jen for several years. He's in his mid-30s. He wants to be a stand-up comedian. He honestly kind of reminds me of Baby Reindeer, if you saw that Netflix thing, because it talks about like the Edinburgh Festival and like all of that. There's no like stalking elements to this, but he's trying to figure out why Jen broke up with him. And so it's all the things that he's doing to try to figure that out. And then at the end, you get Jen's perspective of why their relationship didn't work for like, I want to say it was like the last hour and 40 minutes of the audiobook, which I listened on 2.5 times speed, because for some reason I found the male narrator's voice difficult to speed up past that. I don't know if it was his accent or just like how fast he spoke or what, but anyways, it was probably the last 20% of the book, if that. But yeah, like I liked the ending. I thought it was an interesting concept. I started liking Andy more as the book went on, but I really I didn't care about him at the beginning at all, which is not what you want from your protagonist. And then I started like actively disliking him as it went on. So I don't know if this is like a favorite of mine, but I mean, I know it's not a favorite of mine actually, but I didn't like hate it. I'm glad that I finished it, is what I'm saying. And now I should be reading that Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons, whatever it's called. But I want to watch, there's this TV show on Netflix called Brand New Cherry Flavor. I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to watch an episode of it right now. And the episodes are 50 minutes. I watch Netflix on 1.5 times speed because I'm a psycho. But I'm going to do that. And then if I like it, maybe I'll watch another episode. But I also need to like shower and get ready for bed because I do have to go to work tomorrow. And I want to read in bed before I go to bed because I don't know if I've said actually, my library book is due back and someone else has it on hold. So I would have to wait 2 weeks basically in between right now if I returned it. And I'm just over a quarter of the way through, so I don't want to do that. So my plan is to finish it before it's due, and it's due in 2 days. So I looked it up and I've been reading it for about an hour to get to 26%, which means I have about 3 hours left to get to the whole thing. But I think I can even finish it faster than that once I like get in the zone, auto zone. Okay, I'm gonna watch this and I'll let you know when I have another update. Hello, it's Friday night and I've finished a couple things, so I want to talk about them because I think, well, we'll get to it. But I also have an idea for like a mini readathon that I'm gonna do this weekend because we're supposed to be snowed in this weekend. I don't know when it's actually gonna snow because I've had, like, originally I thought it was gonna snow tonight into tomorrow, but now it's looking like it's not gonna snow until tomorrow night. But then Matt said that his like weather app that he uses says it's gonna snow tomorrow afternoon. So I don't know when it's gonna snow. But I came up with that idea, but I'll talk about that in a second because I wanted to tell you first about the 2 things that I finished. So, sorry. The first thing that I finished is, I don't even think I've talked about it yet, but it's called like I Might Be in Trouble by Daniel Alamon. And this is supposed to be like a suspenseful literary thriller thing. It's about a guy who is a struggling writer. He can't get his 3rd book to get optioned, and then he wakes up next to the guy that he hooked up with, but the guy is dead and he thinks he's killed him. And then it's kind of like about how that impacts his life or whatever. I gave this book 2 stars. I did not like it. I was not a fan. I didn't like the audiobook narration of it at all, but also like I didn't care that much about the character. He's also got this like quirky literary agent that's like his sidekick or whatever in helping him get rid of the body and stuff. And so like parts of this were funny, I guess. But anyways, I just didn't like it very much. So I gave it 2 stars. And then I just finished The Botanist's Guide to Poison and Parties, I think is what it's called. I'm not remembering this very well. This book confuses me because like for the first half, I was really invested in like the romance plotline because it's about this girl, Saffron, who is a research assistant at University College in London. It's in the 20s, so she's like the only woman on faculty, and also like women aren't really students there. So she's trying to eventually get into like a master's or doctoral program. Her dad was a professor of botany, which she claims that's not how she got her job, but it kind of seems like it might be part of how she got her job. I don't know. But she's working there and she gets invited to this party, and at the party someone is murdered. It's one of the like professor's wives is murdered, or not murdered, not even murdered. The lady doesn't die. She goes into a coma because she's poisoned. That's what happens. That was what was confusing to me, is I thought that she was going to die, but then she, it turns out, was in a coma for a long period of time. So anyways, Saffron's mentor gets arrested for the murder, and then Saffron is trying to figure out what actually caused the, or not murder, the poisoning. Just doesn't roll off the tongue the same. Saffron is trying to figure out what actually, like what was actually used to poison her, because she wants to get her mentor off from the crime, basically. And she's got this like colleague friend who studies bacteria. His name is Alexander. She really likes Alexander. I really liked Alexander. I liked their like banter and like romantic bits. The things I didn't like about this book, so like I said, it's set in the 20s, okay, but it doesn't really feel like it's set in the 20s. It feels very modern. And then every once in a while, the author will like throw something in and be like, oh yeah, in case you forgot, which I always had. This is supposed to be set in the 1920s. So didn't love that. Like I just didn't feel like it was very immersive. I also didn't feel like the writing was done very well. I don't know how else to explain it. Like I just didn't feel well written to me. And the mystery was extremely boring. So boring. I did not care about it at all. So I gave that one 2 stars as well. Overall, we are not off to a great start this year, because I've had 1 3-star and 2 2-star. So, what I wanted to say though is, because we're doing a snow day, or because we are having like a snowy weekend, I've decided to try to do like a gamified weekend reading challenge, weekend reading readathon for myself. So I thought about this a lot. I got this idea. I've actually had this idea for a while, but I didn't know how I was going to quite make it work. And then we played this game, not the book version, the real version, with my family over Christmas. And while I was thinking about it, I was like really ruminating on how I can make this work as a TBR game, because I used to play Sorry to pick my TBR. It's just been feeling very meh and like not very fun for me recently. But this, I think, might be a good way. So the game is Ticket to Ride, but we're going to call it Ticket to Read. And I'm going to make my own version of this board game because I don't want to ruin this version. We only have the New York version, which is a small one designed for 2 players. But I think I'm going to make myself like a big map version. It might look something like this. But the gist of how I'm going to do this. Sorry that I'm having to like adjust you. I can't get comfortable sitting on the floor. So what we're going to do, this is what the board game looks like, okay? I've already put my things on there. So there are locations, there are destinations. Oops. And each of the destinations is a prompt. So we have a prompt that says read a retelling. We have a prompt that says a new to me author. We have a prompt that says a random color generator, okay? There's 15 of them actually. So the idea is that when I go from place to place, I'll have to fulfill that prompt. Also, if you can see, we'll just hold it like this for a second to make it easier. There are, like this has orange, and there's 2 of them. So for each block, that's how many pages you have to read. So this has to be at least 200 pages, and each color is a genre. That's the idea. So there are some that are gray, which just means that they don't have a color. And that is actually perfect because then you can just read any genre you want, okay? And so the colors, there are 6 colors. Oh shoot, I'm not gonna remember what they stand for because I did this on my phone a second ago and I filmed with my phone. Let me grab my laptop and I'll tell you what the prompts are. Okay, so I don't know, this is not forever, but what I have right now is for green, I have sci-fi or fantasy, like speculative fiction. For orange, I have general/literary fiction. For red, I have historical fiction. For black, I have mystery thriller/horror. okay? For pink, I have romance / chick lit would fall under that category. And then for blue, I have nonfiction or classic. I forgot that I wanted to make one of these young adult to make sure I was reading more young adult, but it doesn't matter for right now. But I'm very excited about this. Essentially, the idea is you pull one of these, which is a route. And this route says to go from Lincoln Center to Greenwich Village, okay? And on my map, that is, you start at a new to me author and you get down to a book with queer rep, okay? And so the thought process that I had was, for the first two, I have to combine the prompts on those cards, okay? So for the top one, I have new to me author, and I can combine that with a book for my own TBR or a retelling. And if it's for my own TBR, then it has to, it's the only option is red. So that would have to be historical fiction, okay? I definitely have a new to me, like a historical fiction that I own that I have by an author that I haven't read from before. So I could definitely do that. It has to be at least 200 pages because there's 2 spots. Or I could read a new to me author that's also a retelling, and that could either be sci-fi fantasy or nonfiction or classic. So it would have to be classic, I guess. I guess the nonfiction route of this could be like, I don't know, like I read a nonfiction book about fairy tales. Would that work? I don't know. I'd have to think about it and play with it more. But those would also each have to be 200 pages. And I don't own any retellings as far as I'm aware. So I will probably have to go the historical fiction route. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So that's the first step that I have. Okay, and then from there, I can either go to a translated book or a book with a setting that is different from the last setting that I read. And for the setting that's different than the last setting that I read, it's blue, so it'll have to be a nonfiction or classic. Again, I did not think this through very well, but that's fine. It'll be fine. Or for a translated book, it would be sci-fi fantasy. And I actually have a translated sci-fi fantasy, I'm pretty sure. So, and again, at least 200 pages for both of those. And then from there, we're trying to get to Greenwich. So if I go with different setting, then I just have to read a book with queer rep. If I go with translated, I have more stops. I have to read an essay or short story collection. That's either sci-fi fantasy. No. That's either nonfiction or classic or historical fiction. Confusing. Has to be at least 100 pages. And then from there, I would go to queer rep. And for the queer rep options, this is so confusing to explain. If I go to a different setting, then I have to read one that's at least 300 pages, and it can either be sci-fi fantasy or historical fiction. If I go from translated to essays to LGBT rep, then it would either be a romance that's over 200 pages or a mystery thriller horror with queer rep that's over 200 pages. So I hope you see how this works. I am gonna play for fun. I think this sounds fun. So I am, now that I've used my example, I'm gonna shuffle and pick a card, and then I will show you the route that I get, and then I will show you as I complete the route throughout this weekend, which hopefully I can do this in a weekend. It doesn't seem that hard. But maybe it will be. I mean, honestly, who knows? Okay. So I have Empire State Building to Brooklyn. And Empire State Building on mine is a translated book. Is that right? Yes, it's a translated book. And Brooklyn is a book that's part of a series, which this is actually perfect. This is actually so perfect. So I think I'm gonna like sort of cheat, okay? I am in the middle of reading Six of Crows right now. By Lee Bardugo, which is part of a series. It's part of the Grishaverse, but also it's the first book in is it just a duology? Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, is that all there is? I don't know, but I'm in the middle of reading it, and I would like to finish it. I started it last year, haha, and I want to finish it, but that is a series book. Let me show you this, sorry. So, starting at Brooklyn, I have to read a series book, and then I combine it with one of these. And it has been on my TBR for more than 2 years, but I really need to go this way because I'm trying to get here. So sorry. Okay, I'm trying to get up here. So I guess I could go this way, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go this way. Six of Crows is more than 300 pages. I will double check. I don't think I have that many pages left, but we're just going to go with it. And it was published more than 5 years ago. So it's part of a series, and it was published more than 5 years ago. So I will accomplish this. And this means that it can be any genre. So that's what I'm going to start with. Anyways, I hope this makes sense. I'm excited. If this goes well, hopefully I will make this board game in January, and then I can premiere this actual game on my channel in February. I think that would be very fun. But I'm just going to start with that. I need to keep this out so I remember what card I had. I also kind of like this because if I use this as my TBR, it will give me some wiggle room because there are multiple ways to get through the game. Do you know what I mean? So anyways, but yeah, Six of Crows is a YA fantasy series, and it's like a heist book. It follows some characters that overlap with the characters in Shadow and Bone. Is that what it's called? But I don't think any of the characters that have been introduced as far as I am in it were in Shadow and Bone. But it's basically set in this world where Grisha are people who have powers, and Six of Crows is set on this like different part of the world where it seems a little Mistborn-y, like if you have powers, you're really not supposed to tell people about it because it's only for people of a certain class, and if you're not of that class, then it's really dangerous to have powers, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But we've got this guy who works for the criminal underground. Again, very Mistborn-esque, very, I don't know, that's like the vibe I'm getting from it, which it's really just because it's a similar trope, isn't it? But anyways, he is gathering this group of people because they need to sneak into this like really well-protected prison place and break this guy out of prison because this guy knows how to use this thing that can really increase Grisha magic. That's the gist. I don't really know how else to explain it other than that, but I'm gonna read it, hopefully. I will try to finish it tonight or tomorrow and then pick up my next read, which will be a book that has a cover that is related to Six of Crows, because that's the next prompt that I'm pretty excited about. I'm curious to see how that'll go. I could also, I guess, jump over and read a book with queer rep instead. Either of those would be fine, but for the cover match, it's going to be a, what did I say black was? We'll look at this tomorrow. It doesn't even matter. Okay, I'll catch you then. What do you think, Murph? Is it cold out there? Yeah, it's pretty cold out there. Okay, good job. I need snow boots. I don't really have anything to wear. What do you think, Murph? Is that a lot of snow? Wow. That's pretty crazy. Hello. It's Sunday. It has snowed quite a bit. I think I have some B-roll clips that I have either already inserted or will insert to show you the snow, but I am still reading Six of Crows. I've officially made it to over halfway. I'm at page 287. I have like 470 pages, 460 pages perhaps. Yeah, 460 pages. So my plan is still to finish this today. For other things, I got an audiobook of Another Country by James Baldwin, which I'm using as the book with queer rep. It's longer than I thought it was. For some reason, I was expecting this to be like a 300 page book. I think it's like 500 pages. So, and I'm not totally loving it. I'm about 4 hours into a 16-hour audiobook right now, and it's about this group of people. It was written in the 60s. It's this group of people living in New York, and we primarily in the beginning are following Rufus, who's a black man, and we're following him during his relationship with this white woman named Leona, I think is her name. And she is from the South, but she's moved to New York City after losing custody of her child. It sounds like because of some like pretty abusive things that her husband did, or her ex-husband did. But anyways, she's entering this relationship with Rufus, who is a musician. He's a jazz musician. And Rufus is friends with other, like, I'm getting the vibe that they're like bohemian types. There's a married couple who is Richard and I can't remember his wife's name, Cassandra maybe? And they have kids. But Richard is a novelist. And then there's also this other guy who is an Irish guy whose name I'm not going to remember either, but he's like Rufus's best friend, and he is also a struggling writer. And then he's in a relationship with this older woman named Jane, And that's essentially like the characters. This is a very like character driven story, and the plot is very much like things that are happening in these people's lives. I don't know where it's gonna go from here. There's also Ida, who is Rufus's sister. She's a character, and Rufus also, like, the reason I'm choosing this for queer rep is because Rufus seems to be bisexual. I don't know if that's like confirmed. I know James Baldwin, well, I don't know, I guess I'm saying that, but I'm not really sure. I think he's either gay or bisexual, but he writes a lot of like queer subtext into his books. Like I know Giovanni's Room is the like quintessential example of this, which I still have not read, and I would like to, but I believe that that's what's happening, is that like Rufus has been in relationships with these women, but he like also, this book has talked a little bit about like him prostituting himself for money to men, and how he like really hates himself for it. So I don't know, but it's listed like the top things on Goodreads, which is how I go about like deciding what genre something is, because I'm not very good at like telling genres. Sometimes I get a good feel for it once I've read something, but especially with like literary fiction, I don't always know if it's supposed to be like magical realism or if it's fantasy, you know what I mean? But this is tagged as classics, fiction, and LGBT, so I'm considering it a queer rep book because it's in like the first tags. It might even be fiction, LGBT, then classic, I can't remember, but anyways, I'm reading that, and then I will, once I finish that, I will go into the next prompt for you, but I'm hoping again to finish this today, to finish that today. I'm just going to be listening to that while I'm like doing chores, getting ready for the day, whatever, and then hopefully I will have time to read one more thing, because I think I only have one more prompt left. No, I think I have two, actually. I think I have to read something that's translated, which I've decided I'm going to read Earthlings because I own it, and that way I can like physically read and listen to the audiobook, and it's rather short, so I'm going to read that, because the translated I think only needs to be 1 square, so that's 100 pages. It might need to be 2. I'll recheck the board in a second. And then I need to read one other thing, and I don't remember what the prompt is, but I did already pick a book, but I'll go into that more when I get the board out and look at what I have to do. But this has been really fun. It's forced me to read a lot this weekend, which is good because again, we're snowed in. So I'm gonna keep reading, and I will let you know when I have another update soon, hopefully. Hello, it's Monday night, so this has taken longer already than I thought it would, but I did finish Another Country by James Baldwin yesterday, and I also finished Six of Crows yesterday. I'm just updating this today. So I'm going to show you the board in a second because I got it out again to like show you what I'm doing. James Baldwin's Another Country, I gave this 2 stars. It was really just, I did not like it very much. I didn't like the characters, so I don't know if this is going to make sense to people, but this is like very much a character study about this like group of bohemians in New York City and their like relationships with each other. It really does explore like a lot of queer themes, which is why I read it. However, all of the characters are very misogynistic, and here's the thing, like some of the characters are racist or have like different racial prejudices, but I feel like those were included to illustrate that they exist and were like acknowledged throughout the text and were like explained and discussed and like used as a jumping off point purposefully. Whereas the misogyny feels like it was just sort of the time. And I just don't really love that, personally. Sorry if you can hear Murphy burping. He just burped. He's all right. He just ate his dinner, too. But I did finish that. And then I finished Six of Crows. I loved Six of Crows. I thought it was so good. I really want to start Crooked Kingdom. And I'm excited to have read Six of Crows because it's the first physical book that I finished this year. And I really want to prioritize reading physical books this year. But anyways, those are the 2 that I finished. I'm now listening to The Other Valley by Alexander Scott Howard, which is a speculative book that is more than 300 pages that has a different setting than my last read, which is the prompt that it fulfills. So I don't know exactly how many pages this is. It's close to 300 pages, which is why I picked it, because it's relatively short. I'm listening to it as an audiobook. The audio narrator I don't like, and I know I've heard her before. I'm not a fan. I don't know what else she's narrated. I'll have to look into it, but I just really, like, I'm not enjoying her narration. It's very, like, it's kind of a dull plotting book, and her narration is adding to that. Rather than, like, adding to any excitement, it's just, like, very dull. This is about a character named Odile, who is 16 when the book starts, and it's called The Other Valley because essentially it's set in a world where, like, we're in this idyllic valley, and to the east, it's the same valley, but it's 20 years earlier, and to the west, it's the same valley, but it's 20 years later. So it's like a time travel book, which I thought I would really like because I like time travel. It's a really interesting concept. There are people who apply to go to the other valleys. If they, like, have a loved one die, they apply 20 years later to go back to that valley right before their loved one dies, so they get to see them one more time. It's called a grief tour. And our main character is at a stage in her life where she's looking to find a career. And so she is applying to work at essentially an embassy between these valleys, where she's having to decide who will get to come to her valley or who will get to leave her valley. And the first part of the book is about, like, her application process and being picked in this elite group of people to be trained to do this, and sort of like how they decide who is going to get this internship. The other thing that happens that you know about the whole time, so it's not a spoiler, is at the very beginning of the book, she sees a couple who are in, like, the mourning garb, like, that are from another valley, and she recognizes them as the parents of a friend of hers. So she knows that her friend is going to die. It's not even a friend, it's a classmate. It's someone who she, like, knows of. And then this book is about, like, her dealing with knowing that, and she's not supposed to tell anybody that she saw them, because you're not supposed to, like, notice them, basically. Like, it's a thing that everybody knows happens, but you're, like, if you're not supposed to recognize them, essentially. But she does. I don't know, it's a very interesting concept, but it's kind of a boring book. After I finish this, I will have to read one more thing that has to be at least 200 pages, can be any genre, and it has to be a book that is translated. So I'm gonna read Earthlings, which I don't really even know what it's about. I've heard it's very strange, but I'm excited for that. So I'm gonna read that, and then hopefully when I finish that, that's when this vlog will go up. So again, it's Monday, so this vlog was originally supposed to end yesterday, but I'm pushing it because I'm having a good time. But now I'm gonna show you the board. Okay, so I've put my trains down, or they're like cars. They're not really trains in this version, but this was series and published 5 years ago, over 300 pages. And I checked, I did actually have like 300 and something pages left of Six of Crows when I started reading it for this, so it counts. And then over here, Queer Rep, at least 200 pages. That James Baldwin book I read was almost 500 pages, so that counts. And then Red would be a mystery, thriller, or horror, but I'm reading Green because it's a speculative book. So a green book that has a setting that is different than the setting over here. The setting here was Harlem / France, I guess, in New York. And the setting here is some dystopian valley that is not a real place. And then up here, I have to read a book that's at least 200 pages to translate it, and that's the end of my route. If you need a reminder, this is my route. So this is Empire State Building. It's just covered by the translated thing. And then this is Brooklyn. So yes. Overall, I'm having a really good time with this. And I honestly think I could make like an actual board game out of this and have like rounds if people are interested in playing. Like I think I could do that. It wouldn't be like competitive, like someone can't win, like how this game actually is. You have to go around routes and end up taking a lot longer if someone takes your route. But I'm just thinking, like, in theory, I don't know. I think it could be really fun. So I'm going to try to make myself at some point a big game board that I can do like the movable pieces like I said I was going to do, because I think it'll work. But I'll let you know when I finish The Other Valley, and then I will let you know when I finish Earthlings. And I will be back here to wrap all of this up when I finish each of those things. I will probably finish The Other Valley tonight, and I will probably finish Earthlings tomorrow is my thought, because it's not super long, but we'll see. Hello, same sweatshirt, different day. It's still 0 degrees out, but I finished my game. I should have gotten it out to show you. I'll probably have to do that. Hold on one second. Actually, I've decided I'm gonna tell you the books that I read, and then I will get the game out and show you the finished route so you can see like the vision, okay? So it's Tuesday, which I think I already said, but last night I finished both of the books that I was reading. So I finished The Other Valley at like 6, I guess. In that, I ended up giving 3 stars. I really liked the ending. I thought it had a solid ending, but I just thought it was so boring for so long. And again, great concept. Not terrible writing. I have heard that the physical book has like it does the thing that Sally Rooney does where there's no delineation when someone is speaking, which I don't personally like, but as an audiobook, it doesn't bother me because I don't notice. So I finished that. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. Again, very good ending, very like thought-provoking concept. Ultimately kind of a boring book throughout, but unfortunately, so 3 stars. I think there is an audience for it. I just don't know that I am the actual reader for it, if that makes sense. I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently, but I really do think it's true. I think there's an audience for almost every book. And a lot of the books that I don't like, I don't even think they're bad. They're just definitely just not something that I enjoy. So not my favorite thing, not my least favorite thing that I've read by a long shot, but finished that. Then I read Earthlings. I feel like this book needs to come with a lot of trigger warnings, and I didn't know anything about what it was about, but it's about these 2 characters living in Japan. It's primarily about this one little girl who is being sexually abused, and she starts acting out because she's sexually abused, and she has this cousin who has this like make-believe game that he is an alien, and she adapts to that and decides that she's an alien too, and she doesn't want to be like the Earthlings, and it's about her life after that. The sexual abuse is like on page and kind of vivid, so that's shocking, but just like I feel like people should know what it's about before going into it, because I do not think I would widely recommend this book. However, I did have a good time reading it. It is very absurd. It's very like odd. The ending kind of comes out of left field, but I kind of loved it for that. And I ended up giving this book 4 stars. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I rounded it up to 4 on Goodreads and in my like bullet journal and stuff. But I really enjoyed my read of it. It just is like, it's not like anything I've ever read before, and it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever read. So I think like if you go into it knowing that, you might, if you didn't know and it's something that's going to disturb you, like I don't necessarily think you should read it if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. That being said though, if I knew what it was about, I don't know that I ever would have picked it up, and I am glad that I read it. So I don't know, I have lots of mixed feelings about that, I guess, but 4 stars. And I'm gonna, sorry if you can hear my dogs eating. They get their food out of their bowl and they carry it into the living room and just chew it on the floor. And it's Murphy's birthday. Murphy, you wanna come here? He's 7 today. Are you 7? Are you 7? It's still snowing too, or it's not snowing anymore, but there's still like feet of snow outside of our window. But I'm gonna get my board out and show you the final route that I took. And then I'm gonna wrap this vlog up. So here's the game board. I have all my tracks laid, and I'm gonna just go through what I read. So for a book that is part of a series, was published at least 5 years ago, and is at least 300 pages, I read 6 of Crows. For a book that has queer rep and is at least 200 pages, I read Another Country by James Baldwin. So sorry. For a speculative fiction book, at least 300 pages that has a different setting than the book I read last. For this one, I read The Other Valley. And then for a translated, for a translated book that is at least 200 pages, I read Earthlings. So I completed my route. Go me. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you have any thoughts on this game and how I can like make it better, or if you've seen anybody do this game as a TBR game before, let me know, because I haven't seen it, but it seems like pretty perfect for it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like too far up my own ass right now, but let me know if you've read any of these books that I talked about in this vlog and how you felt about them. Also, let me know what you read for the first week of January, because it's officially January 7th, which means the first week of January is over almost. Happy New Year. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.